Hi there, guys. Just some ordinary dude here, and welcome to another edition of Discussions with the Dude. Today, I am joined by Josh Pulliam. How are you today?
Good, doing good.
And I've also
Just
got DBZ619 with us. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Okay, that's great. And today, we're going to talk about something a little bit different from our usual Loud House related topics. Recently, on our Instagram group chat, quite a few of us got into a lengthy discussion about Insomniac Games. For those of you who aren't aware of the company, Insomniac is the gaming business that has created many classic titles over the years. It started becoming a big success back in the late 90s with the Spyro trilogy, and since then it's gone on to make another few big hit franchises, such as the Ratchet and Clank series, and most recently it's delved into Marvel territory and it's given us some really good Spiderman games, and there's also a Wolverine game on the way. So that alone means there's quite a lot to talk about here. So I suppose what we'll do is we'll start by talking about the older games and we'll move on into the more contemporary stuff, because there's quite a lot to be said, particularly about the Marvel games. Spider-Man PS4 is probably one of my all-time favourites. I haven't yet played the sequel games, but they look pretty good from what I've seen. A lot of stuff I've heard isn't as assuring, but there you go. But I've also seen the trailer for Wolverine, which looks pretty good. So, yeah, so we'll get to that. I suppose we'll start by talking about the original Spyro trilogy. Now, Josh here has played the original Spyro games in quite a bit of depth, from what I can understand. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
I actually own the original trilogy
yeah.
that I ordered off eBay about 6 years ago,
Oh, okay.
basically.
Yeah, I mean, as for me, I have played it in bits, but I've never played it in full. If that makes sense, I've played a few levels of it here and there, and then moved on to something else. I suppose I was a bit more of a Crash guy, but they were around at about the same time during the PS1 era. Let's actually rewind for a moment. Back in the late '90s, after you know the console wars sort of fizzled out between Sega and Nintendo, Sony actually kind of won the console wars, because just after the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System feuded for a few years, Sony came out with a PlayStation, and that was pretty much the big console for the next decade after that point. And three franchises, I think, that really helped the first PlayStation, take off in the way that it did are Tomb Raider, Crash Bandicoot, and Spyro the Dragon. And Spyro, of course, is what we'll be talking about here, because it's really the genesis of Insomniac Games and what allowed it to become the massive company that it is today, with all the great games under its belt. So, Josh, if you'd like to sort of elaborate on this part, what are your overall thoughts on the original Spyro game trilogy?
Well, they're just really fun to play. I
Yeah.
mean, I've always been a big fantasy buff, and a game where you play a dragon was always kind of interesting to me.
Hmm.
I remember seeing the original commercials, and I remember they had this sheep trying to boycott the game because of what he does to sheep in the game. I always thought that was kind of funny,
Yeah. Now,
seeing a sheep playing about a dragon game.
yeah. Now, it's kind of interesting because with Crash and Spyro, they were both two big franchises of the time. But while you could say Crash was your typical, linear level design sort of thing, where you've got a simple pathway in each level from beginning to end, with a bit of deviation here and there onto alternate paths. But for the most part, Crash is a very linear game, much like Mario, Sonic the Hedgehog, and other platformers that came before it, right? Whereas Spyro, you could argue for the time it was a little bit more original, a bit more innovative, in the sense that it was a bit more free roaming. Is that a good way to put it? It's like an open world
I
sort.
think so, yeah. You got to move around a lot more, and areas rather than just going in a straight path like you did in most of the ones you just mentioned, like the Crash games.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me
You
wrong,
just
that's
keep
not a
going
bad thing.
forward.
Like Crash and Sonic and all that, and Mario do it brilliantly. Don't get me wrong; it's not like a slander, but it was like, would Spyro count as a platformer? I'm not sure. I suppose you could say it is. I mean, you just jump a little bit, I guess. But it's more of an open world thing, isn't it? It was very different for the time. I think you could say. A very sort of innovative series of games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Which of the three games would be your favourite, Josh? Since you've had the most experience with them.
Well, I do like the original Spyro. I think that one's a classic, but I also kind of like Spyro 2
Yeah.
because it's got a lot more story going on. You
Oh,
get to
okay.
interact with characters a lot more
Yeah. And
rather than just free a dragon and that's when the conversations start and that's it. Yeah,
yeah.
Spyro 2 and 3 have a little more variety to them.
Yeah. Which one would you say is the best in terms of gameplay?
Um, well, a lot of them have some pretty good game mechanics in them. Like, I do like how they use the hover mode in the two ladder games.
Yeah.
A feature that isn't present in the first game for some reason. Every time you press the triangle button, you just plummet straight down, which is like, what the heck?
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, with those, I know a friend of mine, Juvenage Imagination. He's a big fan of the third game in particular. I'm not sure he's a fan of the other two, but he's a big fan of the third one, Year of the Dragon. I think
Yeah, Year of the Dragon was pretty good. I thought it was kind of neat that you got to play other characters in these special stages once you freed them.
Yeah.
So, like Sheila the kangaroo and Sergeant Bird and all that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The Eddie, that was kind of neat.
Mm.
And their stages are pretty fun too.
Yeah. It's I suppose that's it with like the original Spyro trilogy. Obviously, again going back to what Juvenage Imagination mentioned, I think he had some flaws with the first two games. Then again, he also thinks the first Crash game sucks. So he's got some very controversial opinions on classic games. But with the original Spyro trilogy, while I wouldn't say it was like perfect or anything, it was successful enough to be the genesis for Insomniac Games to move on and to make like even bigger things down the line. So obviously, after Spyro the Dragon, its next big franchise would be Ratchet and Clank. Now, I've never played much of Ratchet and Clank, but I know like over the years, especially back in like the 2000s, it was a pretty like huge franchise. I think we can all agree on that. Yeah, and it basically kind of, I think it just sort of like builds on the platforming experience they gained from previous titles that they worked on, and they managed to just make their own thing, and it was obviously a very big success. They made like several games from it, if I'm not mistaken, and it helped them develop further as just as game developers in general. Again, I won't really focus too much on Ratchet and Clank because I've never actually played it. I think you said you haven't also played it, Noah. What about you, Josh? You ever played that one?
Well, Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Although I've never actually played the games, I have seen them like seen their commercials and stuff, and plus I've seen various YouTube poops that show clips of the game.
Oh god,
yeah,
YouTube.
I really got into YouTube poop back in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s.
It was more like the late 2000s, early 2010s. I remember some of those. There was a lot of them about the likes of the Zelda CDI games and Hotel Mario and all that, and Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, if you remember.
Yep. Yep, they had a lot of them.
Do you remember all of those, Noah?
I know Hotel Mario and the CDI Zelda games thanks to the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Yeah, but did you see like a lot of the YouTube poop videos that came out about all that stuff back then?
I don't think I ever did watch a YouTube poop video.
No. Well, there's loads of them out there. I mean, they're just basically they're almost like badly done, like editing on purpose to like exaggerated comedic effect, if that makes sense. Just look up.
Well,
Yeah,
I think I have seen like more than a few in passing.
yeah, yeah. And just if you type it, even now, if you type in YouTube poop and look up the results, you'll see what I mean pretty quickly. But there was all sorts of things. So, yeah, but it was mainly to do with Hotel Mario, the '90s Sonic cartoon, the one with Long John Bolger in it, of course, and the CDI Zelda games. So there was a lot of dinner and Pingus.
Yep.
But anyway,
And that's not Luigi to you, Mario.
yeah, my boy, this piece is what all true warriors strive for.
Right, or
Yeah, I wonder
how can
what
we
dinner.
help?
I don't know. The things that people make memes out of, it's very weird, isn't it? But anyway, sort of going back to Insomniac Games. So yeah, it's kind of funny because until recent years, I didn't have that much experience with Insomniac Games titles. But actually looking back at its history and the series of games it's made, I actually think Insomniac, it mirrors Naughty Dog in a lot of ways. Like, both companies kind of started out in the mid-90s. Naughty Dog started out with Crash Bandicoot. Insomniac started out with Spyro the Dragon. They both moved on to new franchises in the 2000s. Naughty Dog moved on to Jak and Daxter. Insomniac moved on to Ratchet and Clank. And then they would move on to more like adult-themed, realistic sort of games in the 2010s. So obviously, Naughty Dog would move on to the Uncharted series. And then they would make their magnum opus with The Last of Us, which was so successful that it got a TV series made after it.
Yeah.
Saying that, I've heard Crash Bandicoot's going to get a cartoon about it after all these years. I've just rumours, but it'd be nice to see how they'd handle that. But yeah, on the same vein, Insomniac also shifted in the 2010s towards, I wouldn't say realistic, but more like, slightly more adult, human-based, game concept, specifically to do with superheroes. And obviously, it's magnum opus. Like, if The Last of Us is the magnum opus of Naughty Dog, I think it's pretty clear that Spider-Man PS4 is the magnum opus of Insomniac.
Yeah.
Now, this is an absolutely brilliant game. I just played it for the first time a couple of years ago myself, but it was a truly phenomenal experience. Not only is the gameplay really, really well done, and the world is really expansive, and it has it's full of like vibrant life and color and everything like that. But beyond that, the story is just really compelling and superbly done. Particularly like the stuff involving, Spider-Man and Otto Octavius and all that sort of thing. Just a really well done story overall. It just feels epic, and it's got so many tear-jerking moments, and it's earned. It's not forced. The story is just really interesting to follow, and it just compels you and keeps you wanting to play more. As soon as the main story was over, I downloaded this DLC content to play the side quest stuff, like the stuff involving Hammerhead and all that.
The city that never sleeps.
Yeah, there was 3 different ones. I think there was the heist, there was and then there was the bit with Sable, and there was the bit with Yuri turning sort of vigilante, and mostly it involved Hammerhead, but in the mob, yeah. But it was just a really brilliant game all around. I mean, without sort of like doing a professional review or anything, yeah, it's like a 10 out of 10 for me. You've got great graphics, you've got good gameplay, really, really solid action, pretty good, in fact, very good voice acting.
Oh yeah, Yuri Lowenthal, who also played Sasuke in the Naruto series,
Yeah.
Really killed it as Peter Parker in
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man.
Oh yeah. Of course, he's also the voice for teenage Ben 10 from the Ben 10 franchise. So obviously, when I close my eyes, I keep. In fact, that was quite funny because Vulture is also played by the voice actor who plays Doctor Animo in the Ben 10 franchise. So if you close your eyes for a minute when you're listening to scenes with Vulture and Spider-Man in it, you're almost like imagining another Ben 10 reboot. You're like, oh wow, Ben 10. I thought the first Ben 10 reboot looked fucking weird. This is way out there. And also, speaking of voice actors, I mean, William Salyers.
Oh, you go on.
Yeah, William Salyers, of course, from regular show, who voices Rigby, plays Dr. Otto Octavius. And you're like, wow, you just... I mean, not to say that regular show never had, like, you know, its great moments. It certainly did. But like, it was more of a comedic show than anything. So, like, to see the voice actor of a very comedic character like Rigby take the jump to play a character like Otto Octavius, it just shows the sheer range and talent in this guy. Because he plays Otto extremely well. And he plays both sides of Otto Octavius, like, brilliantly. Like, that's sort of affable, likable, good guy at the start of the game, and that psychotic, sinister villain later on. He plays both parts really well and makes him such a great, well-rounded villainous character. Yeah.
And speaking of Dr. Octavius, it was like you're really invested in the relationship he has with Peter. And throughout the entire story of the game, you don't want to see him become Dr. Octavius, but you just know that it's eventually going to happen, which you know, has that narrative effect on you, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird because for most of the game, he's technically not the villain. Like, he doesn't turn evil until about 3/4 of the way through, does he? For most of the game, the main antagonist you fight is Martin Lee, or Mr. Negative, who goes through a very similar sort of Otto Octavius, where he starts off looking like a good guy, but it turns out he's been fucked over by Norman Osborn. Basically, Norman Osborn screws over everyone in this story. And he's sort of the reason why most of them are bad guys. But yeah, he starts out as... It sort of makes you think Mr. Negative's the main villain, and then you sort of beat him about 2/3 the way through the game, and then Otto Octavius emerges, and it turns out he's like the real big bad of it all. Yeah.
You know, since we're on the topic of voice acting, referring back to Ratchet and Clank, I noticed that in most of those games, aside from the first one, that Ratchet is voiced by James Arnold Taylor, who also does some voices in The Loud House. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, let's face it, most voice actors, they really get around a bit.
Yes, they do.
I mean, if you watch anything, chances are it's going to have some voice actors in it that you've seen from other things. I mean, that's just a given. I mean, in The Loud House alone, I mean, it's had tons of, big name voice actors. Some of them obviously in its main cast, such as Grey Griffin, who's one of the most accomplished voice actors of all time at this point. As well as John DiMaggio, who plays Flip and Mr. Grouse. And obviously he's played tons of
and Sean
over the years.
He was also the Scotsman from Samurai Jack.
Yeah, and of course he was also Jake from Adventure Time, Bender the Robot from Futurama. He's been about, you know.
Oh yeah, he's been all over.
And then it's also had the likes of Cree Summer and Tara Strong and other big names show up in it over the years. So it's not like The Loud House is no stranger to having noteworthy voice actors involved.
Yes.
And then there's Nico Fuderman, who voices Luna Loud, and Adam Lyon from My Gym Partner is a Monkey.
And she also plays Styx the Badger in the Sonic franchise.
Yep, that was
the Protect and Hey Arnold.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, voice actors, you'll see them all the time in various things. It's very rare that you only know like a very experienced voice actor from just one thing. like pretty much all of the voice actors in the Loud House have been in something else. Like Catherine Tabor, of all people, I heard her in an episode of Robot Chicken one time, where she was playing Joy from Inside Out. So it's like that was quite funny.
As she did Gadget a few times too in those Rescue Rangers skits.
And Liliana,
like that one where she's not wearing pants, and everyone's going berserk over her because she's not wearing pants.
Yeah, and Liliana.
Yeah, I definitely heard Laurie's voice when I was watching that.
and Liliana Mommy, do you know where she started her career out years ago as a kid?
Yeah, in Chowder. I'm not your boyfriend.
No, before that.
Oh, as Myrtle in the Lilo and Stitch cartoon.
In the cartoon for that, she was Myrtle the bully, and that. Yeah, she's definitely played a lot of different characters over the years. She played a bully in Lilo and Stitch. She played a sort of cute stalker girl in Chowder, and she played the nice, slightly simple-minded one in the Loud House. So yeah. So yeah, that's quite a... But yeah, sort of going back onto the main topic, yeah, Insomniac Games over the years, it's sort of moved on to specialise in superhero game titles. Since the success of the first Spiderman game, it's had a couple of sequels. Now, I haven't played these. I haven't played Spider-Man 2 yet because it would require me to buy a PlayStation 5 just to play one game, which I haven't got the money, and I wouldn't spend the money just for one game, no matter how much I want to play it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then there's Miles Morales, which predates Spider-Man 2, which also connects to it. So
yeah. And now, have you played those games?
Oh yeah, I actually own all of them.
And what would you say of Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2?
Okay, I'll tackle Miles Morales first.
Yeah.
Miles Morales by itself, I guess you could say it's a glorified expansion pack DLC, even though it has its own story, but it lasts around about 4 to 5 hours long, give or take.
Yeah.
But the gameplay, it's absolutely amazing, especially for Miles, since he has a similar yet different playstyle to Peter Parker, because he has 2 additional powers, that being the camouflage and the Venom Blast, which is, basically bioelectricity.
Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah. What would you say overall of, like, because obviously these Spider-Man games, they're very story-driven games. What would you say of, like, the narrative of Miles Morales? Like, how, yeah.
Well, I think the narrative was pretty good because, for one thing, it puts him in a position where he's temporarily the only Spider-Man in New York since Peter had to go away on a work trip with Mary Jane.
Yeah.
So he kind of had to hold down the fort for a little while.
Absolutely.
And it was especially hard since there was this new gang with high tech gadgetry on the scene where he had to put a stop to.
Yeah.
And it was really personal on his end, considering who was leading the gang, which was a childhood friend of his.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to spoil too much, but so yeah, there is that. And there's also, okay, you got 2 sides of enemies. You got the gang, which I mentioned, and then you got the corporate mogul trying to muscle his way through the neighborhood of Harlem in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And overall, if you ask me, it was a very, very good game, especially for a Spider-Man that isn't Peter Parker.
Yeah, well, it's always nice to have a change of pace, isn't it? Speaking of which, we then get to Spider-Man 2, which I've not played the game yet, but by the looks of it, it's very expansive and ambitious. Saying that, I have heard quite a few detractors of the game. Now, as someone who has played it, what would your overall opinion of it be?
My overall opinion, I would give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Well, that's because the game added some things, but it also took some things away.
Yeah.
For example, the gadgets in the first Spider-Man game, you got a multitude of gadgetry, such as the tripline web and the impact web,
Right.
and those were two of my favorite gadgets in that game. In Spider-Man 2, those things were pretty much taken away and replaced with some other ones.
Okay.
And which I guess at one point makes sense because, you got the symbiote powers, right?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, they are cool, but I really miss the impact weapon, especially since it helps clear it helps create some room for Spider-Man when you're in a combat scenario.
Yeah.
And the tripline web it's especially helpful during stealth sections.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the thing. Like, I remember unlocking in the first Spider-Man game all these different gadgets and how useful it was to like deal with not only like lots of combat situations but also like stealth missions and stuff like that. And obviously, you get used to playing with those mechanics so much when you play the first game, as much as I did at one point, and then to go from that to like losing like all the best parts of like that arsenal, that weapon set. Yeah, it must be very annoying, and it must feel very lacking as a result. To lose some of those things, especially when it's like, this should be a sequel. This should have everything the original had and then some. It shouldn't be losing vital components of what made the first game so good. So I can imagine
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it did add some things, but it took some things away. Like for example, the traversal, like the swinging is a lot faster now,
Yeah.
and you can now deploy web wings from your suit, allowing you to glide from great distances,
Yeah.
which is cool. I'm not gonna knock them for that for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure it must have had some like really great additional things involved. Um, yeah. I mean, what would some of your favourite changes be? Um,
My favorite changes.
yeah.
Well, you can both play as Peter and Miles now, which makes a lot of sense considering the Miles Morales game.
Yeah. Well,
And
both.
you got like a multitude of costumes on both ends as well.
Yeah.
And then the side quests, I think I like them a bit more than I did in the original game.
Okay.
Yeah, that added more things to do, especially the post story.
Yeah. Now, I believe you also play as Venom in parts of the game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but that didn't really last too long since that was only on a narrative standpoint.
It's like Crash Twinsanity, where it's advertised that Cortex and Nina are two of the main characters, and you barely play as them. That it's like that, is it?
Well, I guess so, considering I never really played the Crash games.
Yeah. Well, it's advertised as a big part of the game, but when you actually play as them, it barely lasts very long at all. Yeah. Like, I know that you fight Kraven the Hunter as Venom at one point. I know that much. Yeah. I suppose we should talk about the story. I do know some about the story that goes on in the game, because I have seen some cutscenes. Obviously, you'll know more because you've actually played the full thing. But yeah, at the end of Spider-Man, obviously we have been going into spoilers anyway, guys. But at the end of Spider-Man 1, you may remember the segment where Norman Osborn goes into that secret like basement area, and his son Harry is sick, and he's working on finding a cure. And you can see the hint that he will become Venom when he gets out. Like, obviously, normally Venom's like, his origin is he's like an alien that lands on Earth, and he like basically infects and becomes like whoever is the host of him. Here, I think it's sort of treated differently, isn't it? It's like something that Osborn's creating in his lab or something like that.
Actually, no. Venom actually did come from space in that game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the thing. I've only watched certain clips, but it's just like the end of the first game made it look like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, normally Eddie Brock Jr. would be the host, but in this they make Harry Osborn the Venom, don't they? Yeah. That's right, isn't it?
yeah. Harry does become Venom in the
Well,
game in the latter half.
Yeah. Well, no, first, obviously, Peter Parker becomes infected with Venom like he normally does. But yeah, I know that after him, it becomes Harry Osborn as opposed to Eddie Brock, doesn't it? But yeah, obviously, different interpretations of the Spider-Man mythos, they'll do different things. Like, obviously, like the game, for example, Dr. Octavius isn't usually like Spider-Man's, like Peter Parker's mentor or anything. Like, that's something that this version has done, for example. Like, obviously, they liked the scenes that they shared together in Spider-Man 2 back in 2004, and they thought, let's build on that, obviously, for the 2018 game. And obviously, in this game, they thought they didn't really have any idea for Eddie Brock, so they thought, let's just make Harry Osborn the one who will be like the final boss, Venom, in Spider-Man 2, the game. I keep having to say Spider-Man 2, the game, because Spider-Man 2 in my head means the 2004 film.
Yeah. And funnily enough, that game for that movie was considered the quintessential Spider-Man game up until the 2018 game.
Oh yeah, I've heard some good things about that game actually. But the film itself is considered brilliant. It still is. It still holds up actually all these years later. Like, the effects for the time were really impressive.
Right.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, Spider-Man 2 was actually the first superhero game to ever utilize an open world gameplay style.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, sort of going back to this Spider-Man 2, it's like, yeah, obviously, again, we'll go a bit more into the story and what your thoughts are on it. But from what I can tell, essentially, it sort of carries on from where the first game and Miles Morales leave off. Obviously, Norman Osborn's still around. Harry's now sort of back in Peter's life as his friend. But obviously, there's a Venom symbiote that's causing trouble. And also, there's a second main villain in Kraven the Hunter, from what I can understand. And I suppose now here's where I'll let you sort of elaborate a bit more on the story. What are your thoughts on this game's narrative?
Well, I'll try to recall as best I can, since it has been a pretty long while since I played the story of that game.
Yeah.
So I'll try to recall as much as I can. So the game starts off with Peter working as a teacher in Miles's high school, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And surely enough, with his Parker luck, there's trouble afoot. And turns out that it's Sandman.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that the Sandman boss fight was hands down the best opener of any superhero game.
All right, that's pretty cool then.
Yeah, man. I like to save that part for yourself so you can see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Anyway, Peter. Yeah. Anyways, post. At the end of that boss fight, like, Peter and Miles come back to the school, since they had to evacuate because of Sandman, right?
Yeah.
And Peter actually gets fired because the principal felt that he abandoned his students instead of protecting them, which is ironic considering he was protecting citizens as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was that. And later on down the line, Harry comes back as he was let out of that tank, and everyone's happy and smiling, especially Peter. And they, I guess they take a stroll around Queens, and they regroup at their old high school, which was which was Midtown High, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically slice of life stuff that slows the pace down a bit until you go back to your old superhero gig.
Yeah.
And then comes Kraven.
Oh yeah. And
we won't be getting Venom until later on, obviously, since Kraven's been built up in the commercials as the big bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to the first game where, obviously, for most of it, Mr. Negative's the main villain, and I believe he does come back in the second game in a redemption arc, doesn't he? Something like
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, obviously he's the villain for most of the first game, and then Otto becomes the villain of the last part of the game. And I suppose it's the same in Spider-Man 2. They'll have Kraven the Hunter take the spotlight for the most part, and then Venom will be like the final boss at the end, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing: Harry actually had the Venom symbiote on hand.
Yeah.
Before Peter did.
Yeah.
And this is going to be like major spoilers territory right here, but Kraven actually.
Sorry, I just sneezed.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was it? Oh yeah, the spoiler thing is that Kraven actually ends up killing Peter with like this poison knife or something.
Oh right, and what? Like the symbiote revives him or something?
Yeah, something like that. It moved from Harry onto Peter, thus giving him the symbiote suit.
And that revives him back to full health and allows him to beat Kraven, basically.
Yeah. Well, not Kraven exactly, but his hunters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Kraven still has to get away because obviously they need him for the main boss fight with Venom, sort of thing. Yeah.
The thing. So the whole thing with Kraven is that he's looking for his last epic hunt.
He's dying of cancer, isn't he? It's like he's a version of Walter White, essentially. He's dying of cancer, so he's like, fuck this, I'm just going to go out in a blaze of glory. He basically doesn't want to die because he feels like dying of his own body being ill is too weak and pathetic. He'd rather go out in a big final showdown.
It's all about the pride of his pride as a hunter.
Yeah.
So yeah, Peter gets the suit, and naturally, as things go, the suit starts changing him in many ways.
Yeah.
Like not only is his powers like greatly augmented, but his personality is taking a downward spiral.
Yeah.
He's becoming more brutal and selfish. And Harry, he was like, "Pete, any chance you could like hand over the suit back? Because with the suit, he was feeling better, and without it, he was getting sick all over again." Yeah, so there's that little narrative standpoint.
Okay, but yeah, like sort of without going too like in depth with the actual overall narrative, like I was just mainly thinking of like what your overall thoughts are in terms of the quality of how it's done and everything.
Well, in terms of the narrative, I think it was a hit in some parts and it was a miss in some other parts. Like I can't recall all of it, but
yeah.
I finished it mostly satisfied for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it's like most people are probably comparing it a bit negatively to the first game. And I don't know, maybe would you say the first game had the better story?
Between the two, I would say the first story was handled very, very well and compared to the second one.
But then again, we've also got to remember this. I think personally, the first game story is absolutely top tier. So it's like, okay, it's like Toy Story 4, for example. Everybody hates Toy Story 4, and I'm like, it's a perfectly good film. It's just not as top tier as the original 3. You know what I mean? It's the same thing here. Spider-Man 2 might have a really good story. It's just not as like phenomenal as the first one. And you know what I mean? Like when you've got to live up to such high standards, it's easy to be looked at negatively. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I was going to say with Toy Story 3, that would have been the perfect ending for that franchise. But
yeah,
I just felt that Toy Story 4 was like unnecessary, but
it needs to exist.
Yeah,
I mean the original trilogy would have been the perfect like ending from a like thematic standpoint. But saying that, when I watched Toy Story 4, I'm like, you know what, this isn't like a 10 out of 10. But you know what, it is still pretty good. It's not brilliant, but it's pretty good. It's not a terrible film. You know what I mean? It's not terrible.
Yeah, well, I never really seen Toy Story 4, so I wouldn't really know.
No, I've seen a trailer for Toy Story 5. Actually, I'm not going to lie; it looks kind of interesting. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Josh, do you have any of your own personal thoughts on the Spider-Man games, or?
I really don't play any of the newer because I only have, like I said,
You're more of
I
a
only have the PlayStation. I lost a lot of my old gaming systems back when I lost my old house back in the in the late 2000s to the early 2010s.
yeah.
There was a huge blackout at my old place, and yeah, our house ended up getting boarded up because it was condemned for black mold, and we couldn't get back in to get any of our stuff. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
a lot of my old game consoles and stuff like that were gone. I was only able to get another PlayStation thanks to eBay.
Well, that's rough, buddy. Sorry.
The only other system I have is a Nintendo Wii, which I hardly ever play now.
Yeah. Well, Nintendo
It's sitting in
Wii.
my closet, collecting dust.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, fair enough. When you get older, you do sort of stop playing games. I don't really play a lot of them anymore. I'm busy with life, you know what I mean? But it is one of those. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, you were good for like the retro part of this podcast though, because you played the Spyro games more than me and Noah.
Mainly, I just tend to my YouTube channel, which I'm even working on a video. I'm just editing some photos here.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Even as we speak.
Yeah. But I suppose we'll end this by talking about briefly. So as we've touched on, Insomniac Games has moved on to superhero games over the years, and recently it's made a big success with the Spiderman franchise. But obviously, Spider-Man isn't the only thing that Marvel has. Another very popular franchise is the X-Men. Now, I've only ever really been a casual follower of the X-Men franchise, but obviously I'm aware that Wolverine is a massively popular character. Before the MCU, you could argue he was definitely in the top 5. Like before, like Iron Man and Captain America were a big deal. I'd say the big 5, well, the big 5 or 6 before, like pre-MCU, were on Marvel side you had on DC side you had Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and on Marvel side you had Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, and Wolverine. And of course,
the big 3.
Yeah, and Wolverine, of course, is now getting his own game up by Insomniac, styled in a very similar way to the Spider-Man games. And I've just watched the trailer before starting this podcast, and I won't lie, it looks pretty good. Like, obviously, I don't know what the story is going to bring, or if that's going to be very good, because these games are heavily story-driven. Let's not pretend otherwise. Like, in a Sonic game or a Mario game, does it really matter if the story's shit? Not that much, because you're mainly there for the gameplay, right? If one of the Spider-Man or Wolverine games has a shit story, it kind of loses a lot, because it is very story driven. That's like games now, like modern, like really successful games, are usually the story driven ones, like The Last of Us, like Spider-Man PS4, like Batman Arkham City, like the Grand Theft Auto games to a point, They're all very heavily story driven. It immerses you like in the worlds that they've built and in the narratives that they've crafted. So I don't know what the narrative of the Wolverine game will bring or how good it will be, but in terms of gameplay alone, I do think like it looks like it's going to be very good.
I'm personally excited for this game ever since it was first teased back in. Well, I think it was 2022, I believe.
Yeah, are you a very big Wolverine guy?
Oh yeah, I'm more of a Wolverine fan than I am an X-Men fan, so there is that.
Well, let's face it, X-Men kind of revolves around him, to be honest.
Yeah.
He is the main cash cow of that franchise.
And speaking of this Wolverine game, a lot of fans have been asking questions like, is this game going to be as brutal as it should be? Like, and based on what we've seen, it's going to be faithful towards the
Now,
Like this is going to be a far cry from the previous Spider-Man games, obviously, since this is a whole different character.
yeah. Of course, one thing, and I've never played these games, but there is a sort of gaming franchise that I can think of that comes to mind that feels like it might be a bit similar to how the Wolverine game will be. What's his name? Kratos, the God of War. Isn't he a bit?
Oh, right.
Yeah. Isn't he a bit like Wolverine or in like personality and all that?
Well, other than being like very angry all the time, they don't share that much in common.
Okay. It's just, it does sort of feel like, when I watched the Wolverine trailer, I just sort of got vibes of like Kratos, you know? Like he's just this angry fucker going around kicking people to death and yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And this is someone who's like never really played those games, but that's what it looks like. That's about those God of War games. He's like some God Viking or something.
Yeah, the original trilogy of the God of War games is actually going to get a remake. So,
all right, everything's getting a remake nowadays.
Yeah.
But there you go. But yeah, I
so yeah, those.
Sorry.
Yeah, those are my personal thoughts on the Spider-Man games, and as I already said, I'm very excited for Wolverine. I can't wait to hear more news about it in the near future. So,
and what about you, Josh? Any other thoughts you want to say about any of Insomniac's games?
Not really. That's pretty much Spyro's the only thing I ever played from them.
I mean, it's cool, yeah. Obviously, we were originally going to have a couple of other guys.
As my knowledge goes.
Yeah. We were going to have a couple of other guys involved in this podcast, but obviously they couldn't be, they weren't available, so we did what we did. Next time, we'll probably do a Loud House-centric podcast again, since obviously that's what most people in my following are interested in listening about anyway. But yeah, I think we had a pretty good conversation here about Insomniac Games. It's something different, if nothing else. Yeah, and both of you said some quite interesting things and all that. So yeah, I think we'll end it there. We're nearly 50 minutes in. What about you guys? What are your experiences with some of Insomniac Games' titles? What do you think of the original Spyro trilogy, Ratchet and Clank, the Spider-Man games? What are your impressions on the Wolverine game, if any? Let us know in the comment section below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.